Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Green Fork Food for Thought podcast. Today with me is my good friend and coach and business owner, all-around awesome guy, Mike Verschelden. He's the owner of On the Move Fitness down here in Clifton Park. He's been on before. I think you're like the second or third guest that we had on the show, which is pretty cool. But Mike and I came up with this idea to do a 4-part series, sort of an information giving series from us, kind of talking about different types of programming, nutrition, endurance training, strength training, all different types of training, mobility, stability, and if you were to get into some type of fitness program and starting from ground zero, how would you facilitate that? How would you write that up? How would you come up? How would you put that, Mike?
Well, should we just kick it right off?
Yeah.
I mean, where you want to start, depending on what fitness level you're at. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different variables that go into a training program, and that's what we really like to do at On the Move Fitness. And I think we'll kind of break it down as far as kind of impromptu, let's say coaching, programming, training programming, let's say inside the gym, outside the gym, what you need to be doing to be successful inside of a training routine. Mm-hmm. I think we'll cover all the topics when it comes to, not in this exact episode, but when it comes to the foundations, progressions of certain exercises, all the things that go into training, nutrition, self-care, mindset. We'll talk about all those things because there's not just one specific component. We talk about all the time, the mind, the body are not, in separate. They coexist, and you can't have one without the other. So we're just gonna jam on a lot of things, but I'd say to kind of really hone in the topic of this when we first talked about was what it means to be a coach. What does a good program consist of? So we want to build the foundations of training first, so you have an idea of where to start and then where you can progress to depending on your goal, really.
Yeah. So we kind of want to offer as much as we can as coaches without sort of a one-on-one personalized feel, but just a broad example of, like you said, mindset coaching, physical training coaching, and nutrition coaching, and kind of just give you the ground floor, the foundation for you to run with, utilizing all the skills that we have. We're going to try to explain things as best we can. But I think, just jumping right in, I think why is this important? Because there's so much information out there on social media, on the internet. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got kind of a way that they like to train. You see a lot of social media influencers that are doing crazy movements that are way advanced, or just for theatrics. For example, there's a guy that does crazy heavy deadlifts on a skateboard, and it's okay, that's cool, but you're that's not where everybody's going to be at, and you see a lot of advanced moves, and you see a lot of kind of extreme opinions and extreme methods of training, and for the general population, that just doesn't really work.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of misconception, especially with social media and even on YouTube. When I go on YouTube and I see an advertisement and it's there's this drink. This woman's got little apple cider vinegar and this lemon balm juice. And it's in 28 days, you're going to lose 28 pounds. It's just not real life. It's not sustainable. And there's a lot of jargon that's out into the internet in the world of the days of the internet nowadays, where it's there's just so much out there. There's misconceptions. There's just stuff that doesn't really work. So we want to actually bring some reality to the forefront of training and coaching. And I think a good place to start with this conversation is just kind of give an idea of let's say if you were a beginner, let's kind of role play a little bit. Mm-hmm. If you were coming into the gym here and we were to sit down with a conversation, what questions do you ask to actually formulate a program? Because I wrote down a couple things before you came up here, and I was let me just sit down. I do this all day, every day, but just to kind of speak it out as well as where, you need to have a foundation of questions to guide the ship on where people want to go and where you want to go inside your fitness journey. So, I mean, let's start with the foundations. Let's say if you were to come in here and let's say you're generally looking for, let's say, general fitness.
Yeah.
Right? If you were to come in And some questions that I would ask you is like, okay, well, number one is, what does your health history look like, right? And also lifestyle, because I think the foundation is your health history, and what does life look like for you outside of the gym? Because realistically, for you to formulate a training program, it needs to actually fit your lifestyle. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They see something cool on the internet, or they're like, I'm just gonna jump into this big goal where it doesn't really fit to the mold of their life.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you see that a lot, and like maybe you've even been in a position where it's like, I'm gonna set this goal, and it just doesn't really it's not clicking. It's not making sense.
Yeah, it has to be realistic.
Yeah.
Right. And then we talk about SMART goals all the time. A big portion of that is it has to be realistic to your lifestyle. You know, you're not going to get off the couch and into a high rocks competition in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maybe even 6 weeks. You know, you have to set a solid foundation. These things take time. So setting a realistic goal is something that a coach can help you do. And like I said before, it can help you cut through all the misinformation that's out there, or the stuff that really doesn't pertain to you at this time. So yeah, establishing, first of all, what are your goals? And then a coach can tell you, well, you know, honestly, that's not realistic. I mean, we can work towards something like that, but let's set goals together, right? That's step one, or step two rather. After you get the health history and you get what they like to do, what the client likes to do with their lifestyle, right? If my goal is just to be able to play with my kids, that's one lifestyle. Where another person might be, yeah, I really want to go for as many high rocks competitions or Spartan races as I can this year.
Yeah, it's going to look
different levels,
drastically different for different people. And that's where, like I said, a lot of people that come in and they start asking questions and they have a goal. Like we train, again, like a lot of people, like adult fitness between the ages of 35 and even 65, men and women. And then we have our youth performance and our sports performance groups. So like we train them in a similar formation, but it's just drastically different with the exercise selection and also the intensity of the exercise we do. And it's something that's unique about us is like we've got a formula that works for any, let's say, population, demographic, person, and we can plug and play different exercises and different modalities into that training program, which is super unique, which we'll talk about that later on. But to kind of like just build the baseline again, we have to reverse engineer.
Yeah.
I think that's where it really starts. It's like health history, why you're doing it, understand the person's why. So for those of you that are listening, it's like find your why. Like why do you actually want to dive into, let's say, a high rocks competition? Or if you do, just like, I mean, it's a good reason to play with your kids. Like it's a healthy approach to being fit and being active. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. It doesn't always require the gym necessarily, but I'd say, health history, lifestyle, and then start with a goal. And then like the same way I program sessions is like, I look at the goal, okay, and then I'll reverse engineer that. Like I don't necessarily program like mobility, stability, activation drills. I'm going to program like the main exercise first. And then like say the secondary exercise for like that compound lift, and then I'm going to reverse engineer the mobility, the warm-up sequence, making sure we're prepped the right way, and then also the finisher at the end too, depending in the constraint of a workout. But not to go off on too much of a tangent.
I want to back up a little bit too, because I think the why, what's your reason, I think is very, very important. And it's not just, often it's not going to be your first answer, right? When somebody asks you, why are you doing this? Well, I want to play with my kids. Okay, why do you want to be able to play with your kids? You know, because I want to show them that I'm a healthy person. You know, I want to be a good example. And you have to really ask why so many times till you get to a touching point that kind of makes you emotional, right? And that's going to be a more solid anchor point for you to be able to stay on track when things start to slide and slip, which eventually they will, right? Everybody slips. Everybody is working towards a goal and has setbacks and fallbacks. It's part of life. But if you can remind yourself with a solid anchor point, what is your reason why you're doing this, beyond just some surface level, like I want to look a certain way, that's going to be a much more driving force for you to continue on the journey and stay disciplined and dedicated.
And that's huge. And like that's one of the first questions I ask people when they call. I'm like, so like what made you reach out? I'm like, what actually made you reach out? Because that takes, nowadays, It's you have to think about a thing, you feel
Yeah.
a certain way, and then you take an action. It's like
Yeah.
think, feel, act. It's in that order. It's like you thought about it. Okay, now I'm feeling a certain way. Maybe you're not feeling good in your clothes, whatever it is. Maybe you're feeling like you got some pain in your lower back, and you took action. So like
Yeah.
that's really important. I always ask that question: is like, why did you reach out? And then how you found us too. I like asking that question.
Yeah.
Like how you came across our page or whatever it is. But once we build upon that is really the foundation too. Is like why people are reaching out, and then also you reverse engineer from there. It's always just kind of working backwards. But most people, I think the biggest mistake people make is not doing it that way.
Yeah.
They see something, maybe it's a spark of motivation, and something looks cool, and then they're like, I'm just gonna jump in, and it just doesn't make sense. And then they have to really refilter everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say the why is number one. Now, once we establish the why, it's kind of like, it's like between the what and the how, right? Where it's like, all right, we built the why. Now it's more of like, what are we gonna do? And then it's like, then it's gonna be how we're gonna do it.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's in that formation, in that order. Yeah. And the what is where it gets kind of interesting, because there's a lot of different ways you can, let's say, you can work on training modalities and do all that cool stuff. This is where it gets fun, and the how, of course. But I'd say, like, when you actually build the what, which is like, is it going to be inside the gym? Are you doing stuff outside of the gym? What does it actually look like?
Yeah.
In the total picture, you have to kind of go sky view. You have to go like 10,000 feet above yourself and kind of look down and be like, okay, what does this actually look like in my life? Is it realistic or is it not?
Yeah. You're looking ahead to the future. You're setting a long-term goal. Long-term for you might mean a year. In terms of fitness, we could say, okay, next year I want to run a full marathon or a half marathon, or I want to be able to do a Spartan race, or, if that could be a fitness goal. If we're talking about life goals, it could be, I want to, I just want to be happy, or I want to succeed in my career. I want to get, further in my career. It could be a weight loss goal. It could be any goal, right? So it's up to you to decide what that is. And then the coach will help you take that big goal and reverse engineer back down and set smaller goals from there, so that you're not trying to climb the ladder and taking these huge steps and falling on your face every time. It's like, let's stack you with short-term wins over and over again till we get to that end point. And, honestly, a lot of times that end point goal will shift or change as you go through your journey and make your way forward. But that's the what, right? Like you're talking about setting a goal, making sure it's realistic, right, to where you're at, and then setting up steps to get there.
Yeah, and then we get into the how, and that's where it becomes fun. Is like, that's where I nerd out. That's where, like, us as fitness professionals nerd out. Is like how we design and put together the X's and O's. And there's a lot of variables, a lot of components that go into that. But that's the realistic approach. When you're in like how am I going to do this? It's like, that's where it gets, you have to really be cognizant of certain things like energy level, nutrition, your sleep, like all the things that are going to impact the how. Let's say, like, let's say a squat is on the menu. It's like, how are we doing the squat?
Yeah.
As far as contextually, like in a technical standpoint, but how many reps are we doing?
Yeah.
How many times a week are we doing it? It's like that stuff really does matter, and how intense is it? The how is really up to the coach to determine, how much you're going to do, how much volume you're going to do, how much, what the intensity is like, and build you up in a way where you're not feeling beat up and broken down. Because I think one of the biggest components to a successful training program is adaptability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is really I take that on with pride, because it's up to me to take in all this information and data and then put it out there and say, hey, this is the best approach for you right now. And then it's up to you to do that. On top of building a relationship with the person, that takes time. They got to know us, like us, trust us. But there's a lot of, I'd say, rapport that has to be built to get to the how. And that's where it gets really fun, because once you're doing the how, you see results. You can track body composition, how much weight you're doing, all that good stuff. To break it kind of down, like, honestly, that's the base foundation of like building a program is like you start with the why, it's the what, and it's the how.
Yeah.
And then it's just this cycle. I think it would be on a complete cycle just like that when getting started. So for you guys that are like listening, I think that's a really good framework to work off of is build your why, bottom of the pyramid. You know, what is it like that you're actually going to be tracking, and like how are you going to do it? And then the coach is also influencing all of this too,
Right.
because they're monitoring all of the things that are going into the program. I think we were going to talk a little bit about that today, is like also like what constitutes a good coach and why should you have one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for all these reasons, right? All the things that we just talked about, if you don't have any knowledge in the fitness space, the nutrition space, you don't know where you, how to take the steps to get where you need to go. That is the definition of a coach, right? To get you from point A to point B. And so, like you were talking about writing a program, that's one aspect of being a coach. The other aspect is, well, there are many aspects, but getting to know that person and the adaptability of the program that you set up for them, right? So getting to know that person, their personality, their temperament. Are they the type that's going to come in here and work hard 3-4 days a week? Or are you going to have to push them a little bit more to come in and work out and be more, on their ass about accountability? Different people need different types of motivation to keep going. And they also like different things, right? So some person might really like lifting heavy. Another person might just want to do a little bit more lighter weights, more like cardiovascular type of stuff. Or, somebody might have an injury that you're working around. So there's so many variables and that your programming has to be adaptable, right? So a good coach will do that for you.
Yeah. And I think like there's 3 buckets that let's say label what's underneath a good coach. And it's like you have to have a technical expertise component of it. Like you got to know the ins and outs of how like exercise should be performed, the risk versus reward in certain exercise. So like technicality is number 1. You got to be a really good communicator. You got to be able to understand people, know people, like people, and you have to be very curious inside of that, I say, part of communication. If you're not asking questions constantly, like you're not going to get the answers that you need to filter their program to get them where they want to go. And then you also have to problem solve.
Yeah.
Today we didn't have power here at the gym for the first like 4 to 6 hours. And I'm coaching a client online just because I'm like, hey, like I got power at my apartment. I'm going to take my computer from here. It's dead because it didn't charge overnight. So I'm going to go charge it at the apartment. Let's get online. And like, you just have to go through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, different plans to get to, let's say, the end result. And I think that's what really constitutes a quality coach is like, it's not just formulating the program. It's all the stuff that's in between the cracks.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference between a good coach and a great coach is all those little things that make the difference.
Yeah.
So when you're looking to hire a coach, hey, we're here for you because we actually give a shit, we care.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it really starts is if you have a really strong why, you'll find also a strong enough how, right? So you'll find that approach. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey, you can find a place to start. And there's so many different ways you can get fit and be active.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope like that helps build some of the foundation of, let's say, where to start and where you're going, just to clear the path for you just a little bit when it comes to, I'd say, starting a routine. Or if you're looking just to switch things up, even if you're an experienced trainee, like you and I have been training for years on end, like over a decade plus. And it's like, we just get interested and curious about different ways to train. Like when you did the Landmine University, I say workshop over at Battleground, like that was so cool. It's different. You know, you're working with a bar, you're doing different twisting, turning motions. It's just different than the generic way to strength train.
Yeah.
It's functional too.
Yeah.
It's super, super cool.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I love it. I think that, during this podcast, we're going to try to break down very basic levels of what you can do to start your own program, but that's not even going to touch hiring a good coach because, like we said, it's invaluable. We already have all that information and we can help you, we can write the program for you, but we're going to bring it out of you and educate you and highlight your strengths, right? And play to your strengths and get you where you need to go and help motivate you. However, we can't do it for you. Right? Our job is to bring out the best in you. And that's what you want to be. Your goal, most of the time is going to be, I just want to be a better version of myself. And that's what we're here to do is show you your strengths and show you how awesome you really are and just build you up and bring you up through all the methods that we are taught and know how to do.
Yeah, so now we've built, let's say, like the foundation of, all right, we have the logistics. Like it's on your mind, you're thinking about the why, you're thinking about the what and the how. Again, should we give like some examples? Like should we dive into like, let's say, just even like role play it a little bit where it's like, give an avatar, if you will, where it's like, maybe it's just you and I, and it's like, for a good example, I just started running again, because I'm doing High Rocks. I'm competing in High Rocks, New York City, end of May, and like I haven't ran since the fall. So I'm 6 months post any, let's say, long distance running. I'm starting to work my way back into running. Let's say you haven't ran ever in your life, but it's a goal of yours, and you want to go from like, let's say, kind of like the couch to 5K.
Couch to 5K, yeah, let's use that example.
Let's couch to 5K. It's like, where do we even start?
Yeah.
So, you want to break that down a little bit?
Sure, yeah, I think, I would always start with mobility. The first thing I really teach people is just a quick little 10-minute warm-up thing. Because you don't want to hop right off the couch, literally, into your run.
It's not what couch to 5K.
It's not
like you don't go from the couch and just run a 5K.
Yeah, it's not literal. All right. So usually, I try to teach just a little bit of dynamic mobility, get warmed up. But the goal is running, right? That's the main focus of it. So you're not just going to go right into a 5K. You're going to start with maybe half a mile, 1 mile, right? Do that several times a week. Build up to 1.5 miles, maybe do a little bit of speed work in between. Start with just a basic run, focus on breathing patterns, right? You want to breathe in and out through your nose. You want to keep your heart rate zone 2, zone 3, which is something we'll talk about when we get into the conditioning. But let's say probably like 140 to 150 average heart rate.
Yeah, you could take 220 minus your age. And that calculates your max heart rate, and you take a percentage of that, which would be like, let's say, even if you do like 50 to 60% of whatever that number comes out to be, that's typically like your zone. So there's different zones. And zone 2 is really around that 50, 60% of that number that we calculate. So like, let's say if they were literally getting off the couch, like you said, I think, let's say for the first like 4 weeks, so I like to break it down like this. Like, what does an actual module look like? Here at the gym, we typically, like we block things out in like 4-week segments. So like this would be a good example. If someone is going couch to 5K, you're going, literally haven't worked out, let's say in a year, 2 years, something like actually physically demanding, where it's like ground and pound, feet hitting the ground, or any strength training. We frame it where it's like how many days a week, what does that intensity look like, what's the duration? It's kind of like the FITT principle, right? Frequency, intensity, time, and then type, right? So that's another good, let's say, tip right there is the FITT principle. You can write that down, rewind this and write that down. Because that'll help you formulate the type of training that you're actually going to do. So if you're literally coming off the couch, I would say like the frequency. Like let's say I'd say twice a week, maybe like on a Monday and a Thursday. That gives you a little bit of a gap in between. Like Monday you go out for, let's say you do a walk for, let's say even a 10-minute walk just to get the blood flowing a little bit. And then let's say you go from your walk and then you start to maybe throw in like a 30-second jog. And then you go back to the walk. So you start to build up in increments. I'm just giving an example right now. I'm not going to go literally step by step. But let's say week 1 is twice a week. Actually, I would go, honestly, like for the first month, probably trying to keep the volume, probably like between no more than like 3 sessions. Let's say if you're going like
3 times a week.
3 times a week. I would really start with twice a week, build up, and then start to increase the intensity and increase the volume as you go. And that's where your coach would be able to chime in and be like, hey, how you feeling? That's what's really important. If you don't have a coach though, then it's harder to get that rapport back. And I think I was thinking about this as you were coming down. I was like, because the question is like, why would you want to have a coach? Like the reason why I always think about this, because people come and see me every day throughout the week, and I'm just like, there's a reason why they're literally coming in the door. There's multiple reasons, but at the same time, like they're reaching out for that expertise to give us that feedback on what's going on.
Yeah.
That's a huge component of it. And it's like, I know the reason why I want to coach is because if I don't have someone looking at my form and technique or giving me some type of external feedback, like I don't know if I'm progressing the right way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, even us that have been in this game for a long time, sometimes we don't have the answers when it comes to our own bodies, right? Like, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
You know, and your coach will be able to look at you and be like, well, you know, you went kind of hard yesterday and maybe today's more of a recovery day. So yeah, it is invaluable. But back to the running thing, I think, you know, starting off small, walking and jogging intervals, right, for the first 4 weeks to a month or so. When you feel, you know, get your body used to that, right, and then increase those intervals over time, and then more running. Maybe once you get comfortable running, then you run jogging and a little bit faster pace intervals, right? So you play with the intervals, mix it up a little bit, and then, you know, by 3 months, you should have no problem running 5K, which is only 3.2 miles. Well, I shouldn't say only. I know that's a lot for some people.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like I think 12, like a goal like that, if you put it in a constraint, and we talk about constraints, we talked about it last podcast too. Like it's great because you have like, let's say 45 minutes or 60 minutes inside of a session. You can get really creative on how you work that.
Yeah.
Let's say 12 weeks would be an awesome place to start. And you slowly build those benchmarks. Like block 1, week 1 through 4, it's a walk jog interval. Week 4 through 8, now we increase the intensity and maybe the time a little bit. And then by week, let's say 8 through 12, you're starting to really pick up that pace. Like today, for example, I actually, 5 a.m., woke up, was not feeling it at all. I was doing kilometer intervals. So I was I run a kilometer, I would push the pace on the treadmill. It was like a 7:30 mile pace, but it gave me a good benchmark of like, what does the intensity look like? Yeah. So I stayed within the constraint of the kilometer. I pushed it I was right around like 5 minutes for that kilometer. And then I took a 2-minute rest. So I was just walking. I brought the intensity down. Yeah. And then I picked it back up for the second kilometer. And then I went to a 7:13 pace. So I just went a little bit faster. Yeah. And then I did 2 minutes of rest again. And then the last one I pushed to about 6 minutes and 58 seconds. And it's easy to do that on a treadmill where you can actually see, it gives you the pace time. And then I did 2 minutes rest and that was it. I had the 3 kilometer interval run. Yeah. So that's a great example that you could use and just, I say, mold that to where you're at. And that could be a walking and running dynamic too. It's like, I'm just going to walk for maybe a kilometer, and that's a little over half a mile for just as far as the distance on a kilometer. And then you're picking up a jog. It could be the reverse too. Yeah. You can get creative with it. It could be like, I'm going to walk a kilometer and then I'm actually going to jog for like 30 seconds to see how I feel, to get that, I say, ground and pound through your foot, get that what the feel actually feels like for running, and then you go back to walking. Yeah, and I think it is important to check in with your body and see how you feel, and start if you're just coming off the couch, like in our scenario, you know, starting small and then waiting until the next day or so before you say, oh, I feel good, you know, I feel great. You might feel great right after, but the next day, you know, give it some time. You might feel a little sore, so. You know, and then base your workouts on that, on how you feel. Incrementally, you will start to feel a little bit better over time. Your body gets used to it. That's you getting stronger, right? Or faster, or more adapted to what you're training for. But it is very important to pay attention to how you feel and check in with your body. And, you know, this might not be part of a structured program, but I encourage meditation and just, you know, just sitting with yourself and checking in on how your body feels and how your mind feels. Can I be honest with you right now? Yeah. So, like I said, the power was out this morning. We had to really, call audibles left and right, cancel classes. Yeah. I took a nap. Yeah. I took a nap like 2 hours after. Yeah. I was like, I did not feel great. I was just like, I pushed it hard. Didn't feel great. Just to be real, and I took a 20-minute nap, and I woke up feeling like a new person. Yeah. Because I checked in with my body. Speaking of checking in with your body, I'm like, I felt like I had like I was humming. Like I felt like this vibration in my body, which wasn't like a great vibration. There's a difference between like, oh, I feel great, and like I feel clear-headed. I felt like a vibration of like, I just need to like simmer down and plug in. Yeah. Like, I felt tired. I laid down on the couch. I'm like, man, there's a blessing in disguise because
Yeah.
I felt like I was a little off. So I
Yep.
pushed it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's super important, and I think a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't listen to their bodies. They don't check in. They just are, what's next? Let's go. You know, we're not taught, unfortunately, we're not taught as young people to be able to check in with ourselves, how physically, emotionally, any of that in schools, and we're kind of just taught to work through stuff, work through pain, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think, you know, getting to know your body better is only going to help you through life in general.
Right.
But let's say a fitness journey, it's going to really help you because, you know, like you said, you know, you weren't feeling great, so you took a 20-minute nap, and now you feel amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's super important. All the while, whatever training program you're going through, constantly be checking in, seeing how you feel, and relay that to your coach. I mean, there's methods that we can use, such as grip strength, you know, heart rate, just to see where you're at with your nervous system today. If your nervous system is well rested, you should be able to train hard. If you got a bad quality night's sleep, you're not going to be able to go as hard. So those type of things will influence your programming. And if you don't know any better and you just go for what's written on your paper that you wrote, you know, you could end up burning yourself out before you even get started. So
I think it's a really good point you make because, like, there's 3 ways that we check in with our people here, and this is very like kind of broad, but it's like number 1 is how you feel, number 2 is how you're performing, and then 3 is how you look. So like it's different ways that we track progress in those 3 categories. Is like feel is how you feel. Like I'm always having people go head to toe assessment, like between fatigue. Let's say grogginess of the brain. Are they irritable? Are they more hungry than, like, what is like the actual feel of the body? It's like gives me some really good data, even though it's not completely, I'd say, objective. It's a little bit more subjective depending on what's going on in their life, because stress is a big component of life. Like different stressors, different things that are happening inside of life, like all create different, I'd say, intrinsically different variables that will create different stressors on your body. So number 1 is feel, and that's pretty subjective. Number 2 is perform. So if I notice that someone's not gaining strength, or if they're not, say, making strides forward inside their exercises in the gym, and they're not consistently getting stronger, they're not going up on their weights, they're feeling more tired, more fatigued, like there's something wrong, there's an input that's not in the right place, right? Because it's showing in the output. So it could be sleep, it could be either nutrition, it could be an external stressor again. And then look is one we put third in that order because we do body composition as well. We do before and after pictures. And also we step on the scale. Weight is another one we can track. If someone's goal is weight loss, we'll track that. But it's important that we teach people that body fat is different than, let's say, weight.
Than muscle.
Right, than muscle. So, because we'll see people that are gaining weight, but they're physically, I can see them change, and their body composition is altering in a good way. I can see more definition in their arms, but they're putting on a little more muscle, and they're probably retaining a little bit more water too. So there's different ways inside of those 3 that we track, not to go down like the rabbit hole, but that's pretty much, generally speaking, how we track that progress. So speaking about just feeling and tuning in with your body, it's hard to do. Like it is, but it's also not. Like you can set like a time frame. I say you should be assessing throughout the day. You know what I mean? And then reflect on the end of the week and be like, how did I feel? Like what went well? What didn't work? Like what am I going to work on going into the next week? And so we do weekly check-ins. I'll have I say a host of people every Friday I check in with just to see how things are going. It's on rotation every single week. I'm constantly checking in, like what went well, like we feel like we're improving. What was the energy like? Like what is going on in your life? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's important to be able to check progress in that way, but it's also important because it forces the person to check in with themselves. And you know, these days there's tons of wearables, you know, watches that'll tell you your heart rate variability. It'll tell you whether you got quality rest and sleep and if you're ready to go. So that is good. That's a great piece of technology out there. But I think it's even better to be able to just tune in yourself. So that is an important part of any training program, to be able to track your progress, one, but also, you know, check in with how you feel and how you're performing and weigh it against.
You just did that on Sunday. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's a perfect example. Like, so what are some ways that you check in with your body, just like given the demand of your workload, your training? Like, how do you juggle all the different things, and how do you decide when to push and when not to?
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to be able to do that because I'm the type of person that used to just push right through.
Yep.
You know, whether you're tired or not, just slug down some caffeine and go. But now in my older age, I've, you know, I am training for a high rocks and I do run and, you know, but I've put a focus on my recovery and I think that really has helped. And so I do a lot of yoga, I do meditation, and in my meditation, which is only 10 minutes, and I try to do it in the morning, that's where I do sort of a physical body scan and I do an emotional scan for myself. And then I'll go from there. I'll say, oh yeah, my body really is tired, or like my legs are really sore. You know, you can feel when your legs are sore and you're walking around and you know, maybe that's not the best time.
Limp.
Yeah, you got a little limp. You're walking down the stairs funny. You can't sit down on the toilet without making a grunt or something. So, you know, it's not best to go and hit your legs again. You know, you'd be better off just doing some stretching and some yoga and some breathing to get your nervous system and your body back to baseline so that you can train again. So meditation, just checking in with my body. And I'd say over the years, I've just developed that skill of like constantly checking in on my body in my mind, which you know, sometimes you forget and whatever. But yeah, that Sunday I'd woken up. I trained really hard on Friday after a long day of work. I did 2-a-day on Friday. Saturday, I worked a 10-hour day in my kitchen, just a lot of work. And then Sunday morning, I woke up and my body was really sore. I was tired. I had been really stressed out the day before, just with a big workload. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna skip today. If I do anything today, it's gonna be some yoga that's a little less intense. I still want to move my body. I still want to sweat. I still want to breathe. But I'm not gonna be pushing a crazy sled or ramping up my nervous system in that way because I just don't think I can handle it right now.
No, it's smart. I mean, like, I was texting you being like, yo, you're a little B, like, come on, I want to train hard with you, bro. Like, because it's fun to train with your buddy, too. It's like, we love training together, and it's like, I like that camaraderie, and it's a big component of training, which we haven't even talked about yet, is like training with someone, if it's a coach or a friend. Right. And it's community, right? And that's what we do at the gym here. And it's awesome to work around people, even if you're not directly working, like doing the same exact thing as they are. But it's really fun to train with someone that creates that energy, right? So it'll help you lift it up. So I was kind of bummed, like, all right, bro, like, whatever, man. I got shorter shorts than you still, so whatever, it's fine. So, like, I'm going to get my workout in, you're going to do you. But, like, that's super, super important. I want to go back to your meditation. What does meditation actually look like for you? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Yeah,
so for me, sometimes it'll be in my car. Sometimes it'll be, I set up a little space in my bedroom. It's just like a folded up towel, a blanket, and another one that's stretched out. And so my hips are slightly elevated and I sit upright, against my back against a wall so that it helps me stay upright.
How short are your shorts?
Sometimes I don't even wear shorts.
Whoa. All right, now we're talking.
So I sit there quietly, and I actually use an app sometimes. I don't do it, you know, without anything often.
Do you have
honestly.
You do have like audio coming in? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I do. I use an app called Waking Up with Sam Harris. There's a lot of different meditation apps. There's some really good ones, and they're guided meditations, so they'll give you something to come back to. So a lot of times, you know, you sit with eyes closed and your thoughts wander, and the idea is to bring it back to your breath and bring it back to a focal point, right? And there's many different types of meditation. The one that I did this morning was called a metta meditation, where you're sending out, you picture somebody that you love and you send them good energy, basically. And then you do that for yourself as well. So there's different types.
Like that.
Yeah, it's really nice. But, you know, typically if I were to do one without the use of an app, without a guide, I would do a body scan and a breath awareness and an emotional check-in. So really that's going from head to toe and just kind of checking in, like, is everything loose? Am I clenching my jaw? Are my shoulders elevated? Relax them. You know, am I tight in my muscles? Relax them. Strengthen through the core. Look at your posture. Let your knees relax. So it's going each body part at a time, one at a time, and just checking in with your body. And that's kind of how you feel, or how you get in tune with your body that way. And then emotionally, you know, what's going on? Like, you just tap in and say, am I sad? How do I feel? Am I sad? Am I anxious? Am I eager? Am I happy? Just how do I feel? And then you just sit with that and let that come up. And, you know, that just allows you to know yourself a lot better. I think it's a super important skill. We could do a whole podcast on just that, but
yeah, that gets deep. It's like, I think that's really important, is what you just said too, because I've tried a bunch of different practices of meditation, but what you said was awesome. Is like, just sit with that feeling. It's just like, just be with it. Like, instead of trying to like push it this way or try to explain to yourself why you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, just be with the emotion for a second.
Yeah.
And then just let it be, and then breathe it out. And the way I like to meditate, like what I've been doing lately is, like, I'll lay on the ground. I'll basically like a box like this, and I'll put my feet up, and I'll just lay on my back, kind of get that 90-degree angle where I can relax my lower back.
Feels so good on the back.
Yeah, I just like, it's so good. So I decompress my lower back, my feet are up, and I'll go through box breathing. So I'll go through, like, I'll inhale for 4-second count, I hold it for 4 seconds, I exhale for 4, and then I hold it again. And I just completely, I'll do that for maybe even like just 5 minutes. I set a timer for 5 minutes, and I'll just go through that. I'm just with my breath for a moment. I'm just letting everything be. So I want to kind of just hear, like, the different types of practices that you embark upon, because there's so many ways you can do it.
Yeah. I think the key to meditation, or the point of meditation, is mindfulness, is awareness. And that could mean a lot of different things. It can mean, in the concept of what we're talking, and the context of what we're talking about, is physical training, right? So, you know, checking in with yourself and just being mindful of how you feel today, and physically, emotionally, nervous system wise. And that's going to play a role in how you're going to approach that training session for the day, or your day in general. And then the awareness of emotions. I feel like some people react a lot, you know, myself included, to things, because we may not even know that we're stressed out or that we're angry about something, and we go into a situation where we're talking to somebody at work or something, and, you know, they say something, and you get upset, and you react instead of being able to check in and respond, you know. Process it. And that just comes with knowing yourself a little bit better. And I think that's a key factor in life. But it's also, you know, to rewind a little bit, we talked about setting those goals and knowing what's really attainable. You have to know yourself before you can set some lofty goal, right? You can't say, oh, I saw so-and-so on Instagram, he did a marathon, so I think I could do that. You know, when when
motivation's high, it's like, when you get a spark of motivation, it's like, oh, I can do that. It's like, do you know yourself enough to, what does that actually look like?
Yeah. And give yourself, you know, okay, maybe you can do that, right? But it's going to take you some time. And I also think that when you deal with those setbacks that we talked about before, that can be devastating. And I think a lot of people fall off the minute they experience some sort of obstacle, where, you know, a coach can help you get through those obstacles. But if you have the awareness to be able to sit in uncomfortable positions, or whether that's in your class or your life, if you're dealing with some loss or grief or trauma of any kind, like, that can be difficult to deal with. But if you have a sense of mindfulness, you're going to be able to process things a lot better and get through things a lot better. So when you hit those roadblocks, those obstacles, you don't just give up. You sit with it and you figure out a way to work through it, right? There's no going around it. You have to get through it. And awareness and mindfulness gives you the tools to be able to get through the tough situations.
100%. I think my life has never been worse when I've had meditation
Right.
in my life.
Yeah.
There's certain things where I'm like, when I assess what's going on inside my life, I'm like, if I'm meditating, what is life usually like? Oh, it's usually better.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
whether it's 5 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day or 50, like, it's usually better. So having that channel and that understanding inside of yourself is super important. And that comes right back to the beginning, what we started this whole conversation with,
Yeah.
is like the why.
Yeah.
So it's like knowing why you're doing something and being able to process it internally so you can create an external, let's say, objective, right? That will help you understand your why and get clarity on your vision
Yeah.
of who you are and where you want to go. And yeah, that's powerful. I mean, it's super powerful.
Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of people want to get better because they feel deep inadequacies within themselves. Self-worth issues. There's mental health issues that are out there for perfectly healthy people. Yeah. But when we talk about setting goals, we want to do them for the right reasons. We want to come at it from a positive, healthy aspect. We don't want to, train super hard and not eat well and develop some sort of eating disorder because we want to look a certain way. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about setting your goal and understanding your why, it's got to be deeper than that, right? You want to prove to yourself that you can do hard things because you want to be a person that can do hard things and make it through. That's going to be a much deeper motivator than just, I want to look good in a bathing suit.
Yeah.
Right?
So let me ask you, has there been a time, I know the answer to both. If I were to ask this question and then also if I were to answer it, we both know the answer. It's like, have you ever pushed through, let's say, a training program just because of an emotional response in your life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like
definitely.
The nitty gritty, like, and but you internally, that you shouldn't be pushing this hard or like trying to you're trying to literally just run around the roadblock. Like,
Yeah.
You're just trying to this is a block here for a reason. Like, I need to figure out how to get through this the right way.
Yeah.
But like, when has there been a time in your life where you just have really pushed through excessive training or eating or whatever? What is your coping mechanism with? I guess that's a better question. What is your coping mechanism when stress hits?
Well, it used to be alcohol,
Yeah.
but I'm sober now.
Same.
But I think that, especially when this is a good story. I'll be vulnerable. When I first got into training, into this fitness world, I was working in a gym alongside bodybuilders who had great physiques. And I had come from a yoga background and, I looked okay, but, I had a little bit of body dysmorphia, right? Mm-hmm. So I would put myself through diets, crazy diets, and I would overtrain myself to the point where I was just sore all the time, beat up, couldn't really, I was not flexible. I lost a lot of mobility, right? And I just had this, and the worst of all was that your mind is fixated, your worth is based on how you look, right? And so that's not the way to approach it, right? You need to approach it from a healthy perspective, like I was saying before.
Yeah.
So, having, in retrospect, now being able to see that, that is definitely a time where I was training for the wrong reasons. I was training to push through something or get around my feelings of inadequacy in the way that I looked compared to others, rather than through, which would have been to accept myself the way I am and train the way I want to and just stay on that path and get where I need to go for my own reasons in my own time.
Yeah, that's powerful. I feel like that will be relatable, and that's relatable to me. I did a bodybuilding competition too, and it's like you do associate your self-worth with what you see in the mirror sometimes.
Yeah, bodybuilding's tough.
It's tough. It's very, very challenging, but I feel like it's a stigma that's in that industry too, which is unfortunate. I feel like some people are, they do it to compete and whatever, but like, I don't care who you are, like you are constantly assessing yourself in the body. You're posing, you're looking a certain way. Yeah. And I think like I did it for competition, but also internally, like I felt the same way, inadequacy with, let's say, my self-worth. And I associated, like, if I look better, that's going to bring up my self-worth. In reality, like, I was just a little bit more miserable than I thought I was going to be on the other side of it. So like also knowing your goals and knowing yourself enough to plant your goals, so we go back to the why, is super important because it's got to go deep, and you have to ask some
Yeah.
really, I say, hard questions
Yeah.
to get there. And that's a lot of self-reflection and nose diving deep into yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. I mean, you have to know yourself before you can know anything else, really. And if you want that solid foundation, you have to dig deep. You have to know yourself. You have to figure out who you want to be, who you are now and who you want to be. And that takes a little bit of, self-reflection. And, we can always, a coach can help you dive deep, can help you set the goals, can help guide you through that whole process. And that's kind of what we're here to do and what we're here to talk about with the podcast, coming around full circle. We'll kind of wrap things up a little bit. But, so baseline, you want to set up your why.
Yep.
You want to set up your how.
Yep.
And your what, right?
The
How, what? No.
Yeah.
Why, what, how?
It's got to be your bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get a good look at a butcher. No, so you have to set up, you have to understand your why.
Yep.
You have to understand your what, which is your goal. And then the how is how to get there. And that's what we're going to approach over the next 4 weeks. We're going to go over different training methods for different results. We're going to go into, bodybuilding versus strength training versus hybrid training, endurance training.
CrossFit even, like whatever, like all the different training types that are common out there. I think we should definitely touch upon those.
Yeah.
And then dive into just like some of the modalities that are in that field and how they can be relatable to everyday life too. Like what does lifestyle training look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yep. That's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, I am training for the High Rocks, but really my goal is just to be a healthy person,
right.
And age with grace.
Yeah. So you have to have a component of fun. It's got to be a specific fitness level that you can, or I say fitness type that makes sense for your life, right? So you're not getting burnt out. And we'll talk about some of those things too, like being burnt out, quote unquote. I think burnout is a thing that we can touch upon, but I think it's just lack of recovery and then also not being aligned with yourself and your goals. And that's huge too. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and speaking of recovery, that'll have its own week as well. We'll talk
100%.
about nutrition and recovery because it's just as important as the type of training that you're doing is the type of recovery that you're doing so that you can facilitate that. And we'll go over in much more detail over the coming weeks, and we're both really excited to present this information to you. And, all along, if you have any questions, you can comment in the show notes or you can reach out to one of us via our emails. And
Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Stay tuned and stay healthy, my friends.